I'm on a mission to make custom strongholds for every biome, updating them with new features and mechanics like trial spawners, traps, and unique end portal behaviors. Starting with the desert stronghold and adding more based on your input, my goal is to make the experience of following your Eyes of Ender new and exciting each and every time. Working on the desert stronghold in the last video, I learned a lot, but I don't want to just rehash all the same things here. I want each biome stronghold to improve and build upon the foundations laid by the last one, sometimes taking things in new directions. That means features that are a staple in one stronghold may not appear in any others, like the traps here in the desert stronghold. Each stronghold should feel special. But now that I have a blueprint in the form of the desert stronghold, I can look at this as the example for the goals that I want to achieve with the next biome strongholds. First off, I want each stronghold to be more than just a reskin. And that means not just a reskin of the vanilla stronghold, but also of any of these custom strongholds. They should all have substantially different construction. Now with that said, they are always going to have some similar features. They're always going to have a starting staircase for the structure to start at, as well as a single end portal, just like the vanilla stronghold. We also want the navigation from the starting staircase to the portal stronghold to be complex and interesting, but also learnable. A new player should not be able to tell exactly how to get to the portal room, but if you spend enough time exploring these strongholds, you should be able to get an idea of the patterns that are involved. And of course, the point of this is to update the strongholds, so we want to introduce new features like trial spawners and trial vaults that have been added since strongholds were created. With that in mind, we should have a pretty good base for how we need to go about building the next biome stronghold. So it's time to get started on the ocean stronghold. So as you can see, we're going to start with some similar base pieces like these, and then we will plan on expanding outward and adding more detail over time with more pieces and more variety. We of course have the starting staircase structure, which is mostly the same and I think isn't going to change. I kind of like that this is something that might be pretty similar among all of the stronghold types. And then just a basic hallway here, which is a little bit wider than the one from the desert stronghold. We've got our left and right downward staircases, as well as the long downward staircase, which is pretty identical to what you would find in the vanilla stronghold. And then I'm starting off just like last time with a very small basic complex, but this is the exact complex that we're going to actually use since we already know that the behavior works the way we want it to. As a reminder, the point of a complex is that this is going to be the main rooms and hallways that the player will navigate through on their way from the starting staircase to the portal room. And so to achieve that, it has several branching paths, some of which are entrances, some of which will lead to rooms, and only one of which will actually lead to the end portal. And the way that I'm accomplishing this is with a bunch of jigsaw blocks. So each of these mostly empty structures is going to be placed basically on top of the corresponding structure from over there, and it's going to handle the actual jigsaw blocks for where it's going to connect and what's going to generate out from those pieces. What makes the complex ones so unique is that any of these jigsaw blocks that have these emerald blocks beside them, those are possible entrances into that particular version of the complex. And then each jigsaw block that has a diamond block next to it is going to generate the next step of the main path that will eventually lead to the end portal room. Any of these redstone block or gold block jigsaw blocks are going to generate side paths that basically will lead to other cool stuff like loot and challenges, but not to the portal rooms. That way we can guarantee that we only get one end portal per stronghold. Now we have several versions of the complex jigsaws so that the one route that goes to the end portal is not in the same place every time. So here you can see it's down in this lower section, but in this version it's off to the side right here. And in this one it goes straight down. And that's to help ensure that there is still some complexity and some learning involved with getting a sense of how to navigate the stronghold effectively, but still in a way that can be controlled so that players can learn it if they put in the time. So let's give our ocean stronghold its first test. So here is what we have right now. Obviously it is very small and also quite grid-like. That's just a result of having such small complexes, only a couple of ways for them to connect. But we are already confirming that we have the behavior we want. We've got the starting staircase right here, and that drops us right down into one of these small complexes. Now right now, a lot of these connections don't really go anywhere. We don't have any way for it to go down right now. And of course, we don't have any rooms for them to generate either. But if we travel along down this hallway, we enter into another complex, and that takes us into the very basic portal room that I have for us right now. So the basic behavior is working correctly, but there is something else that I want to do first before we really start to scale it up. Since this is going to be the ocean stronghold generating in ocean biomes, I think it makes sense for it to be partially flooded. So to do that, while I could just go ahead and put a bunch of water inside of the complex in here instead of the actual blocks that get placed, I've instead gone ahead and created this monstrosity. So things over here with these jigsaws are getting a little bit complicated, but I will try to explain what it is that you are looking at. In each of these structures, in addition to all of the jigsaw blocks that handle the connections, as well as those that will eventually handle all of the filler and loot and stuff, I have a bunch of stained glass. And I'm going to use something called a processor to change all this stained glass into water when it actually gets generated in the world. The reason I'm doing it this way is to help ensure that everything gets waterlogged the way I want it to. Particularly, I want to make sure that the stairs that are in these staircase areas actually become waterlogged and get filled with water. And so setting these to water and then placing the build on top of it will do that. Most of these structures are filled with blue stained glass, but I also have a little bit of light blue stained glass, and that's going to get turned into falling water so we can have some waterfalls from the unflooded areas into the flooded areas. Not every transition from flooded to unflooded is going to work in that way. In some places you are just going to be able to dive right on into the water and jump right back out, but there's a couple of areas that I think it's going to be really cool to have to go up or down a waterfall to change locations. Now what's really cool is any of these jigsaw blocks that are themselves in flooded hallways are going to only connect to other flooded entrances, and same for unflooded. So in addition to flooding the complexes with this stained glass, I've also made flooded versions of the basic hallway as well as the left and right staircases that'll take the player up or down. And I've also made 2 new connections to add even more verticality to the stronghold. This one is always going to be flooded, so this is going to be for those cases where you do just dive right on into the water, and then it's going to spit you out the back just like this. And then this one is going to be for transitioning from unflooded to flooded areas. You'll walk into this unflooded room and there will be water here going down this tunnel to once again spit you out the back. So let's see how all of that looks. And this is already starting to look a little bit bigger thanks to these vertical connections here. So we have our starting staircase that's always going to drop us off into an unflooded section of the complex, but then a little hard to tell with the shaders, but we have some water that you dive down into to start to access these other areas of the complex. The waterfall here is generating perfectly, so the player can get up and down relatively easily, though they might need to place a couple of blocks in order to access. And it looks like all the connections here are connecting only unflooded to unflooded, and similar down here we have flooded connecting to flooded. Now I am running into a very clear issue right here. This connection is a flooded connection, and that means it's trying to connect only to other flooded connections. But this has also been selected as the location that the portal room will generate, and so it keeps trying to generate these staircases thinking there's not enough room, but the actual issue is the test portal room that I have right now only has an unflooded connection. So that's something that we'll have to resolve when we make the actual portal room. But if nothing else, this does tell us that we are still getting a guaranteed end portal generation, just the room that we're using right now doesn't happen to be working. Before we do build that though, I want to get a sense of the available space that we do have for a portal room, and so that requires building the larger size of complexes. So comparing the small complex to this medium complex, we see a very clear increase in scale. It's quite a lot larger, and it's also a lot more maze-like. This is something that's really important for me for these complexes. The small complex gets a little bit of a pass, but the medium and the large complex really need to feel a lot more like an interconnected maze of rooms rather than one large room. That way the player can't tell that they're only in one single piece of the structure as easily. They have to become familiar with the layout of these rooms in order to get an idea of how to navigate them. Now, something else that I want to improve upon from the Desert Stronghold for this Ocean Stronghold is the incorporation of these interconnected rooms. So if we fly around this medium complex, and especially this large complex, you might see that there's a couple of rooms that are very similar shape and layout. For example, these two right here, right next to each other, are pretty much the exact same. And inside, they are empty. Unlike the Desert Stronghold, which did have rooms like these within its complexes, but just filled them with filler and loot, I want to make specialized internal rooms for the Ocean Stronghold complexes, specifically the medium and large. So if you find a room like this that has these prismarine bricks and sea lanterns and is exactly this size, it could be a room that's generated from outside the complex, one of these connections, or it could be a room that's actually inside the complex. And the only way the player is going to be able to know is if they take the time to learn the Stronghold's navigation. And that should help a lot with the replayability and the intrigue of trying to explore these complexes. And just like the small complex, the actual structures that the jigsaw blocks for the medium and large complexes are placed are extremely complicated and look super messy when laid out like this. But we can see the very clear delineation where about half the complex is unflooded, and we have these waterfalls to take the player down into the flooded part of the complex, which allows us to see these room shapes a lot more clearly. And you'll see here we have several jigsaw blocks that are inside of the complex that are in the corners of each of these rooms that will be filled with the internal room structures that we'll have to design later. Now, I've left a pretty large gap here in the middle of the large complex, and that's because eventually this is going to be converted to have a variation that is the portal complex. If you don't know what that means, don't worry, we'll get to that a little bit later. Now that we have all the sizes of complex that are going to be used to make up most of the navigation for the Ocean Stronghold, it's time to build an actual portal room. So this is what I've got for the portal room. I wanted to make sure that it was substantially different from the layout of the Desert Stronghold's portal room, so instead of being sort of flat like this, the Ocean Stronghold's portal room is big and tall and supports multiple entrances. If you've made it this far in the video, please remember to like and subscribe to keep an eye on when new Biome Stronghold videos come out. And you can get early access to the Biome Strongholds data pack currently featuring the Desert and Ocean Strongholds by joining my Patreon. I do plan on releasing this data pack for free to the public, but I want to add a few more Biome Strongholds first. So let's check out the portal room. Coming in from this top entrance takes us right into the main portal chamber. We have the signature lava, as well as the end portal shape made of bedrock. And of course we have a singular end portal frame right here in front. If you didn't watch the Desert Stronghold video, I want each end portal room to feel unique, including from the vanilla Stronghold room. So instead of having the classic end portal shape here in the middle, the end portal frames are scattered throughout the room. And in this one, most of them are going to be under the water. Now you might think this is a little inconvenient, but this isn't actually very deep, so there's no reason that you couldn't swim down here and do 2, 3, or even 4 end portal frames, and then swim back up to the surface to get some air. And just like with the Desert Stronghold, I have this end portal frame up here, not in water, so that you can face the portal when you place the last eye if you want to. Now normally, of course, the end portal only opens if the end portal frames are in this configuration, so because it's bedrock here, filling all the end portal frames won't actually open it, so just like with the last one, I'm going to have to use commands to make this work. We'll implement that behavior later. For now, I wanted to make sure that I had the size and shape in mind, and I really want to test out these multiple entrances. 2 of these entrances are flooded, and the one up top is unflooded, so hopefully this way, regardless of which path extends from a complex to the portal room, it'll be able to connect just fine. Wow, now that is a stronghold. We have our starting staircase here up top, and that looks to be going directly into a large complex. And we've got several branching paths, including to another large complex, which is great, but it looks like this is the one that has a couple of staircases that goes down into, I believe, a small complex. And then that extends over this way, a couple of tunnels into the portal room. And of course it's coming in from the back, so if we were to fly in here, we should be able to follow this up. And if we come up here, that does take us to the flooded entrance of this small complex. So the stronghold is spacing out quite a bit. We have a couple of clear cases where some hallways and staircases are generating to spread out smaller complexes where they can. And we are still getting that guaranteed portal room, though it does sometimes require a little bit of a chain of tunnels to get down into a space where there's room. That's something we'll be able to solve for later, but I think the next thing that I want to work on is these internal rooms. If we fly around inside these complexes right now, they are pretty boring, and while we could fill these empty rooms with filler, I do want to explore this internal room idea. Because if it works out well here, that's something that I could easily expand up into the other biome strongholds that won't have to deal with this flooding. So to start with, I've built the casings that each of these rooms is going to use when they generate as part of one of the branches from the complexes that won't be a main path. So these are all the same rooms that are already incorporated into the complexes, but they'll also be used when these rooms generate normally too. Now, unlike the rooms in the Desert Stronghold, even though these are going to generate outside of the complexes, because they're also going to generate inside those complexes, I can't just put the jigsaw blocks in the ground like I did before. There also aren't any built features in here. There's no pillars, there's no real design outside of the casing that is the room. That gets handled by these structures. We're using a similar system that the complexes and other parts of the stronghold use in order to have the jigsaw blocks placed into the same structures without having to rebuild those structures. We have flooded and unflooded variants of each of these rooms, and there are a few different kinds for each size. This one is sort of meant to be the analog to the burial chamber from the Desert Stronghold, so we've got a pretty cool sarcophagus here, and if we were to look inside, we'd have some loot in this chest. This room I hope will be an interesting one. It's got some soul sand and soul soil and a little soul lantern here, so just meant to be kind of spooky, but of course in the flooded variant, the idea is that the soul sand will create some bubble columns. So that might be one way to help the players breathe while they're exploring the flooded sections of a complex. And then I have a block of sponge and some tube coral here that I'm going to use processors to make behave the way I want when they get generated. Since coral blocks die when you place them outside of water, I'm just going to use a processor to replace these with living coral blocks. And we'll use another processor to replace a random assortment of these sponge blocks with water blocks so that it's not just one huge hunk of it. Now for each of these two larger rooms, I also did make what's essentially an empty variant that just has a couple of the jigsaw blocks that'll be used to implement some filler. And those will just be used for internal rooms as one of the options in addition to these actual filled internal rooms. Now these I think will help spice up the complexes, but they're going to be pretty boring without the spawners and loot and other filler that is going to be spawned by those jigsaw blocks that are inside of them. So it's time to make those. Some of these are going to be pretty similar to those found in the Desert Stronghold, and that's because these are some of the elements that I do want to be somewhat familiar and shared between the various Biome Stronghold types. But most will still have some unique twist, and of course they'll have a different block palette. Of course we have the classic pots filled with loot, and I'm going to make some of these pots have traps in them too. I've gone ahead and added the trial vaults already. And then of course we have the spawners that'll be placed in the floor, as well as these larger gazebo spawners that'll be placed in addition to filler. The mobs that can spawn here in the Ocean Stronghold are going to be drowned, guardians, elder guardians, and some modified drowned. I also think I'm going to modify the elder guardians so that they're not too much more difficult than a breeze, since that was basically the mini boss of the Desert Stronghold. And then in addition to these spawner gazebos, we have a couple of other larger filler options. This one is meant to look a little bit like a conduit, and this decorated pot even has a nautilus shell inside of it. And then I thought it'd be cute to have a glass dome here that has a bed and a chest as another place that players could refuel their oxygen while they're exploring the flooded sections of the stronghold. It does have this iron door, but obviously there's no way to make a button work on it, so you're going to have to break in and spill a little bit of water inside to get access. So now that we've got all of these filler structures, let's see how they work. Okay, we're clearly getting rooms coming off of the complexes, so let's come through the starting staircase and see how these internal rooms are working. Awesome, so we are getting the filler, that's good, and then I can tell that this is one of the empty internal rooms that I designed. We've got a sand room over here that's got some loot generated, the glass dome and some spawners, And there is still a chance for some empty rooms, just because if it picks one of the empty designs and then all of those jigsaws decide not to generate anything, then it'll end up being empty. But that should be pretty uncommon, and I don't think it's a huge issue that happens from time to time. Just want to make sure we are still getting the portal room, and this one does happen to be an unflooded entrance, which is great, that's working. I'll add a greater variety of internal rooms later, but for now, this is achieving exactly what I want it to. These strongholds should feel a lot more confusing, but also interesting and exciting as you explore in search of the portal room. Next up, it's time to build the library rooms. So if you watched my last Biome Stronghold video, you know that I didn't make an effort to recreate the library rooms from the vanilla strongholds. Instead, I made what I call large rooms. These are somewhat rare rooms that have a little bit more going on in them. They might have more loot or more challenging trial spawners. They're going to attempt to generate a little more often, about once per complex, and they could even generate more. So not exactly like the library rooms, but enough for my needs. This one is designed to look a little bit like the top room of the Ocean Monument where you fight the Elder Guardian, and so this will have an Elder Guardian spawner here. It has an entrance at the front as well as at the top, and then we have a little tunnel down here into this lower room that will go into and generate another room from this. We of course have a sleeping quarters room. This is something that I took inspiration from the trial chambers for, because I really liked that they had this area that the player could rest in as they explore the whole structure. And it seemed to be received pretty well in the Desert Stronghold, so I recreated it here, though with a different design. And then this room might be my favorite. This is supposed to be a kind of ship in a bottle, and it's huge. It might even have difficulty generating, but I tried to give it as much opportunity as possible. It has an entrance here at the top, as well as two possible entrances from the front here, and then this here at the back will just generate a room, just like the Elder Guardian chamber back there. Now the ship in a bottle room is pretty cool because obviously because of the way we're handling flooding, there's a bunch of blue stained glass out here outside of the glass bottle, but inside it's just air. So this is yet another opportunity that players could have to refuel their oxygen while they're exploring the flooded section of the stronghold. And if they do choose to break in here, there's shipwreck loot for them as well. But I did add a jigsaw block down here that'll generate a spawner to defend it, so you'll have to be careful. Speaking of trial spawners, I did kind of brush past some of the behavior that I wanted to implement, so we're going to go ahead and go over that, and some of the other behavior has not worked out the way I wanted, so I had to implement a bit of a fix. The issue is that I was having drowned spawners generate in the unflooded sections of the complexes and in unflooded rooms, but drowned don't actually attack players unless it is nighttime or both the player and the drowned are in water. Even if they're underground, even if it's dark, they just won't attack the player if it's daytime. So instead of having the drowned spawners generate in the unflooded sections of the stronghold, I've added two slime spawners. One of these will only spawn small and medium slimes, and the other one will spawn medium and large slimes as a little bit of a harder challenge. Now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about how I've modified the Elder Guardian, as well as my own modified guardian, the Praetor. The Elder Guardians that spawn here in the Ocean Stronghold will be a little bit smaller, and they'll have a lot less health, about the same health as a Breeze, which was basically the mini-boss of the Desert Stronghold. Additionally, I didn't want players to have to deal with mining fatigue while they were exploring this stronghold, so instead of that, whenever a player does get mining fatigue from an Elder Guardian, it's instead going to give them blindness. This is really cool because in addition to obscuring their vision, blindness also makes it difficult for you to swim, which I think will be a really unique challenge for exploring and fighting this underwater mob. The Praetor is a slightly modified guardian that I added just to have a little bit more variety among the mobs that get spawned. It's a little bit larger than a normal guardian, about the same size as the modified Elder Guardian, but also with health in between the two. It doesn't have any additional behavior, it's just something to kind of shake up what the player might encounter as they're exploring the Ocean Stronghold. And now it is finally time to move on to the Portal Complex. So the Portal Complex is basically just the large complex, but this central room has instead been replaced with the Portal Room. It'll always have the entrance up here at the top, so it'll be unflooded, and you'll be able to go straight into the portal room from this complex. The reason for this is partly just to further help guarantee that a portal room actually spawns for every stronghold, and also just to add a little bit more obfuscation to stronghold navigation as you search for the portal room. So where previously you might just walk right by this room as you go through and find another exit from this particular complex, if you know that it could be the portal room, then you can walk right down in here and see, oh, there's the end portal frame, we're in the right place. I'll also take this time to explain how the end portal works for those that haven't seen the Desert Stronghold video. When the player places an Eye of Ender in one of these end portal frames, then some particles will start to spawn that will go towards the end portal. So let's practice filling all these up. And then the way it worked in the Desert Stronghold is when the player placed the Eye of Ender in the last end portal frame, about 4 or 5 seconds later, the end portal would spawn in the middle of this bedrock portal. But since so many of these end portal frames are underwater, I did change that behavior just a little bit. Now, when the player places the last Eye of Ender in that portal frame, the portal isn't going to spawn right away, it's going to wait until they're out of the water. That way they can get a proper look at it spawning. And I think small quality of life things like that are going to make a big difference when people experience this. I know I like to look at the end portal when it opens. So let's try generating this now with all the pieces in place. Okay, this is massive. The starting staircase is going into a large complex, and that is going into this portal complex. But that portal complex is of course generating more complexes, including this medium one over here, and a small one off to the side over here. Now, after exploring a couple of these strongholds and getting a feel for how the navigation has been working out with these medium and large complexes, I've gone ahead and added some of these chests. One of these chests will now always generate in the unflooded section right before entering a flooded section of a complex. And it's always going to include at least one potion of water breathing. This will hopefully still let players experience the challenge and intrigue of exploring a partially flooded build like this, but it won't require them to have a whole lot of additional materials or skill compared to other strongholds that won't have this challenge. Dealing with large stretches of underwater exploration is really cool, and I think it makes this stronghold stand out from what will be the other biome strongholds. But after thinking about it, the player is expected to have things like water-breathing potions or doors when they're going to an ocean monument, because that is explicitly underwater, whereas when you're traveling to a stronghold, you won't necessarily know that it's going to be an ocean stronghold. And that brings me to one of the last things that I want to do before I have some of my friends playtest this stronghold. I didn't show it much in the last video, but as the players were exploring, it became clear that the loot was no longer holding up to the increased challenge added by the trial spawners and the navigation involved. Now, the reason for that is I was just using the vanilla stronghold loot tables basically as a placeholder, figuring that they would be fine because they work for the vanilla stronghold. But I didn't really take into account that this stronghold was going to be so dramatically different and such a unique challenge that the loot that was being obtained was not going to adequately prepare the player to continue to explore. But with the additional size and the change in mob encounters plus the traps, the vanilla loot tables no longer provided the resources to incentivize continuing to explore the stronghold, much less exploring the entire thing as opposed to making a beeline for the end portal. So I decided to rebalance the loot for both the chests, trial spawners, and trial vaults. We're just going to go over the chests and vaults here, but the same principles apply to the pots and spawners. Vanilla trial vaults use a few smaller loot tables that then get combined into larger loot tables that distribute these various rarities. Now, these are not the vanilla trial vault loot tables, but they are pretty close. I just modified them a little bit so they would be a little closer to the type of loot that you would find in a stronghold, but I also rebalanced how much of that loot you find. So we have our common loot, which includes diamonds, emeralds, and ender pearls, as well as ominous bottles. We have our rare loot, which has much more emeralds, as well as typically enchanted tools, enchanted books, and other such materials. And then we have the unique loot, which is going to be things like your golden apples, enchanted golden apples, music discs, and even Eyes of Ender. And then all of these get combined into the actual final vault loot table so we can see how that mixture applies here. Now, this is obviously a lot more items than you would actually get from a vault because I'm just doing 20 ticks of loot commands, but hopefully this gives you a bit of an idea of the distribution of loot. And of course, the ominous vaults have their own loot tables that are built of a lot of the same materials, but typically at much higher volumes or rarities. So we have emerald blocks instead of emeralds. We've got some diamond blocks back there, a lot more ender pearls, things like that. Now, the materials from trial vaults can be a little bit more expensive and valuable because you need trial keys to open them, and those come from the spawners. The loot from the trial spawners is more akin to the loot that you would find in chests. So I've applied the same principles that the vanilla vaults use to the loot that my chest generates. We have a variety of smaller loot tables that then get combined into the larger loot tables. And these larger loot tables might use different combinations of these smaller loot tables and in different quantities. So we have the food loot table, which mostly generates bread and apples, but also with a chance to get golden apples. This is faithful to the food that generates in the vanilla stronghold. We've got tools. This has pickaxes, bows, axes, and some enchanted books. I've gone ahead and removed iron armor from all of my loot tables because I feel like it just really clogs up your inventory. Most players that come to the stronghold are already going to have iron armor or better, whereas iron tools can always be useful as an incidental. We have a specific library loot table, which is mostly going to be books, paper, and some enchanted books. Even though my strongholds don't have specific libraries, they do have the large rooms, and I think being able to rely on getting these specific resources from particular chests is ideal. We of course have a loot table, which is going to be where you get your iron, gold, redstone, and ender pearls. Again, very faithful to what you would find in a chest in a vanilla stronghold, but at higher quantities and a little bit better odds. And then another thing that I've added is biome-specific loot, just like we have biome-specific strongholds. So in the ocean stronghold, you're going to get copper, sponges, nautilus shells, even a rare chance for tridents. But in the desert stronghold, you're going to get mostly gold, some TNT, bottles of experience, and splash potions of poison. Both trying to be a little more faithful to the loot that you would find in the biomes, and in particular the structures in those biomes that these strongholds are in. So then these larger loot tables then just combine these smaller loot tables in different quantities and rarities. So the standard chest is going to have mostly food, a little bit of loot, some of the biome-specific loot, and occasionally some of the library loot. The library loot table does only include that library loot table from earlier, but also a guaranteed armor trim, just like the standard library. And then we have the specifically treasure chest, which is going to have a higher volume of the high value loot, a little bit more of the biome-specific loot, some of the tools, but less food and none of the library loot. And with that, I believe it is time to playtest. To help with that, I've invited back Macastine, who helped test the Desert Stronghold last time, as well as my new friend, Nice Name. Alright, welcome Nice Name, thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Welcome Mackie, welcome back.
Hello. I'm excited for another dungeon.
Yes. So what is your experience with strongholds?
I've done a few of them. I think in my family's survival world, we've done maybe 4 or 5 of them.
Oh wow, okay.
So I think that I'm kind of experienced with how to get lost in them, I guess.
So you played the Desert Stronghold last time. What are you looking forward to? What do you plan to expect from this stronghold?
I have no idea. I didn't even ask what the new bio is going to be, so I'm very curious to find out.
Well, if you turn around, you might get a good hint here.
Wait, is it like an ocean?
Oh,
stronghold?
yes.
No way. No, oh my god, that's so cool. I'm excited.
So I've got a chest boat here that's got some gear for you to get started, so we can kind of just skip ahead to the stronghold. All right, and if you want to throw an Eye of Ender to get an idea of where you're going.
All right.
Let's see where you're going.
Where do I go?
And I will follow you. I'll meet you down there.
All right, this should be all flowing water here, I think.
Oh, I hope I'm not going to drown. I might drown.
Oh, you might have to make an air pocket for yourself.
That's okay. Okay, I'm good.
There you go.
That would have been embarrassing. Not even dying in the dungeon itself.
I gotta say, I really like the idea of actual themed strongholds.
Yeah, I think they're going to add a lot of just excitement to finding a stronghold and seeing which one you're going to get. So you found the starting staircase.
And I almost died.
Okay, I'm getting kind of nervous here now. It doesn't look like a stronghold yet, but... Oh my god, there it is. Oh my god, it looks beautiful.
Going in the back way.
I wonder where... Oh, is that the entrance here?
Might as well be.
I'll just declare that my entrance.
Yes, nothing wrong with that.
Alright, let's see what kind of traps are waiting for me here.
Oh, I don't know if I like where this is going, but
Sure, you appreciate that it's there, though.
yes, I do. Oh, and a trial chamber, or a trial spawner.
Got a whole zombie pit going on. Our trial spawner
Oh
back.
wait, we've been through this last time. You can't break those, right?
Right, yeah.
I'll wait until I actually get full, and then I'm just gonna try to go down and take care of them.
Yeah, they do move pretty slow, so it should be
Yeah.
not too tough to keep them at bay.
Okay. What do we get? Okay. Some food. Gold carrot. Nice.
Oh no. Oh no, Guardian spawner. That's so mean. That's evil. Oh no. Oh, you're getting me. I'm gonna get through here. Oh, I might have been overconfident. I'm swimming back.
Little treasure room. Whoa. Oh, that's a named? Great slime. Was the big one named also?
I think so. Yeah, should have been.
So much stuff here. I'm gonna run out of room for sure. Oh. Okay.
Okay, I'll use it now. More pots. Let's go. Oh, another golden apple. Oh no, I'm getting nausea.
Gotta be careful with those pots.
Oh, air. Let's go.
Okay. Oh. That's a little bit intimidating because they can follow me a lot faster.
Yes. And are ranged.
Yes, and ranged, and then can get out of water.
Oh, but it seems to have led you right where you
Yes.
want to be.
Great, he can stay over there for now. Come back.
Yeah, I think that's a dead end. Let me find another way. Oh, I don't think I've been here. Have I?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, I think I think I found the portal.
Found it
I
quick.
want to see what's the other way. I want to see what the other traps are. Though.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is an ominous vault.
Oh, so I would need to take. I could take an ominous bottle before actually spawning this and then getting a key.
Potentially, yeah. I'm actually really curious about how an ominous trial would go underwater.
Oh, cool. I think I know what it is. It's like a ship in a bottle?
Yes!
Oh, they have a custom name. Didn't even notice.
Yes, these ones are a little stronger. Not too much, though.
Oh, this is new as well.
Yeah, treasure room.
A trident. Let's go.
Trident will be very helpful in here.
I just want to find the end portal again, but I'm lost.
Cool, and there's it. Okay, well, I will. How long does this last? An hour and 40 minutes? Okay.
Ho, ho, ho.
Can't get to the other one.
Okay, so the potions do still work. That's cool.
What? There's a shipwreck down here. That's so cool. Wait, it's called Great Slime. Oh no. Wait, I dropped my sword. No. Oh no.
You can take them.
Let me get out. Okay, any more chests here? No, I think that was all the loot.
My goodness. The one trial chamber that I did with everybody, it was just chaos like everywhere. Like very hard to like actually tell. And we did all ominous for everything, I think.
Oh my, yeah.
It'd be really cool. Like, so if I was doing, oh goodness, if I was doing this,
Oh no!
was not paying attention. Too busy thinking.
Nice, I found the portal again.
There we go.
Okay, now just gotta figure out how this works. Because the last biome portal was already super amazing, so I'm guessing there's gonna be some interesting stuff going on here as well.
Where to go now? Hiding some. Oh, there's another one here though. There it is. Okay. Try to get this one before. Oh, big one. Okay.
Yes, extra challenge for the end portal room.
But there's only one. Where's the rest?
I wonder.
I bet it's underwater. Oh no. Okay, there we go. 2, 3. 5, 6. Oh no, I totally got to take care. No, the Yellow Guardian again.
Nice.
Perfect. Okay, another one. Yep. Yeah. Also, I used to not play with headphones like a lot. And
Sure.
The sound is like so different with headphones.
Yes. Yeah.
This is great.
Come on, come on.
There you go.
There we go.
Ooh,
Oh, this.
lucky.
Okay, I lost count though. I think I was. Oh, now it's probably 7. I think I'm missing one.
I do like this a lot, where it's like you have to find like all of them.
Yeah, cool that they're spread around like this.
Yes. Yeah, this is a cool, like, the fact that it's vertical with all the water is very good.
Oh, good.
You have like this sense of like that you're building to something more than just like spinning in a circle.
Right.
And
Yes.
placing the eyes down.
Okay, this should be the last one, sure now. No, it wasn't! Oh,
There you go.
nice. Got it, nice.
And then okay, there's this one. Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That
You
was
made
fun.
it over here really quickly.
Oh my god, that was exciting.
Yeah.
That was fun.
You did a great work navigating this one. Holy cow.
But it's kind of fun getting lost
Yes.
and having to find your way to the portal. That was fun. Nice. And the end portal room was surprisingly difficult too. Because in the normal end portal room you just spam the eyes and you're done. And here it was actually connected to a challenge, which was amazing.
Yes, a simple challenge, but you still have to go and hunt them down.
That was fun. I kind of want to go back to the ship and,
Right.
and finish looking at that.
Avenge yourself.
Yeah, it adds a lot of like creativity and things to other things to think about, because like I was just thinking about if I was doing this like in my survival world and I was like doing things a little bit more like cautiously, like there's sponges here and there's sponges around some of the spawners down there.
Right.
Would totally like make a furnace, dry those sponges out, and then dry out the spawners, like especially
that'd be
for
smart.
the guardians, so they're just kind of flopping around and maybe make it a little bit easier there.
What did you think of the loot for this one compared to the last one?
I got 2 armor trims, which I'm
Nice.
very happy about. Got 2 trial keys, which I don't remember getting trial keys in the last storm.
Yeah, I don't think you got any last
Maybe
time.
I was just unlucky. Yeah. And a lot of diamonds and a lot of gold that I didn't even pick up. So
True.
there's a lot of valuable stuff in here. Definitely worth exploring. And the water breathing potions were actually godsend. They were amazing. I couldn't have done it without those probably.
Yes, yeah, definitely
Those were
want you to
amazing.
be able to engage with and explore the stronghold.
Yeah, and it was still difficult even with the potions, but they just made it more convenient and less annoying.
Right.
Like if you're going here during like a normal like progression of Minecraft, like there's a lot of cool stuff here. You have a lot of the good loot, especially like you're pretty self-sufficient even if you came here unprepared, as long as you had like decent starting gear. It's great that it gives you enough to survive for the most part.
Well, thank you for joining me, Nice Name. Do you want to let the viewers know what they can expect from you, coming up soon?
Yeah, if you don't know me, I'm a geologist and I play Minecraft a lot. And I usually talk about like kind of educational content, I guess, that you can call educational content. But talking about geology, talking about things in Minecraft, and usually I do a lot of things with data packs and displays to try to make interactive like little exhibits for showcasing things. And I hopefully pretty soon I'll have a video coming out about iron ore and talking about how like where we get it in real life and how it's distributed in Minecraft and different properties, and also talk about like some changes that I think would be cool to have like in the game to make it a little bit more realistic while still staying vanilla, much like this.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to see that. Well, thank you again for joining me and testing out the Stronghold, Mackie, and I'm excited to have you back for the next one.
Oh, I'm curious to see the next Stronghold.
All right, you've earned it. Go ahead and hop in the end. And after a successful playtest, I believe I'm ready to call the Ocean Stronghold complete. But my mission is not yet over. There are still plenty more biomes to add strongholds to, and I intend to do just that. Please remember to like and subscribe to keep an eye on when those new videos come out, and keep an eye on my community page where I'll be posting polls about what you would like to see in the next strongholds. And as a reminder, you can join my Patreon to get early access to the Biome Strongholds data pack. I'll plan on releasing it when I have a few more strongholds finished. Thanks for watching!